The point-of-care program at Huntsville Hospital is approaching its 20-year anniversary. As we began to grow as a hospital and provide more complex services to our community, the need for point-of-care testing became very clear in our organization. Many of our departments consider the EPOC device to be crucial to their ability to quickly move their patients from entry to the hospital to procedural room. It helps them monitor the patient's status during their procedures and post-procedure, so it's very integrated into our entire continuum of patient care. If you have any patient population where blood management is crucial, then a point-of-care device is very useful in those types of settings. It can provide a quick result on a very small amount of blood, and that is really important in some of our patient population.
We are starting a new process where we're going to screen our patients on the floor for sepsis. The patient can look and actually feel okay. They will show us signs and symptoms of sepsis. So what we do when they show these signs, we get a lactate level.
Lactic acid is a product of the sepsis cascade. So with sepsis, the inflammatory light switch goes on, the cascade starts churning, and unfortunately, once it starts going, we have to stop it. It will not stop on its own. The faster the lab draw, the faster the lab results, the faster you can act on it.
The process in the lab is what the process is. It just takes a certain amount of time for the instruments to run those tests.
I mean, we're talking 30 minutes even on a stat because that's the process. That's just how long it takes. There's not really anything you can do about that. For every hour you wait to give an antibiotic, the mortality for that patient increases 8%. So now that we have the handheld device, the nurse can get those results within a few minutes, and we know how to treat that patient. If a patient is going into septic shock, we do not have minutes to spare. We have got to get it done quickly. So when you get the little beep from the EPOC that says your results are in, you go with it. You don't even think twice about it. You're like, this is good. This is what I'm going to do for this patient. The next steps are clear.
I think our mortality on the initial floors dropped by almost 50% in the first 3 to 6 months. At this point, we're about hospital-wide. I think we'll be hospital-wide another 2 to 4 months. So this has become a huge program within our system.
Without the EPOC device, it would really be hard for us to get everything done in the timely manner. So it's really helped us to get our program going.
I mean, whether you're a surgeon, whether you're a medicine doctor, whether you're a dermatologist, you want to be able to do things in a timely fashion so that you can be most effective.
This really makes a difference in patient outcomes.
Mixed cannulae, expanding performance standards. High-performance cannulae for direct and femoral cannulation in minimally invasive cardiac surgery. LivaNova's complete range of mixed dedicated products allow easy and reproducible procedures. The portfolio includes the sutureless aortic valve Percival, Memo 4D for mitral valve repair, the HeartLink system for assisting the perfusionist in applying goal-directed perfusion therapy, and a broad choice of high-performance dedicated cannulae. LivaNova's range of cannulae suit every cannulation technique for minimally invasive cardiac surgery. Venous and arterial femoral cannulation can be performed using the WRAP venous cannula and the EasyFlow Duo. For arterial direct and venous femoral cannulation, the EasyFlow aortic cannula and the WRAP are available. For venous femoral access, the LivaNova WRAP cannula features a dual-stage configuration for optimal drainage of the inferior and superior vena cava without interfering with the right atrium. The high-flow dynamics of WRAP improves the capability of drainage with a low pressure drop. An optional Sellinger dilator kit is available to perform percutaneous insertion. The LivaNova EasyFlow Duo cannula is designed for a safe and smooth femoral arterial cannulation. Its conical dispersion tip design allows a more gentle flow in the femoral artery. and its red cap avoids blood backflow during obturator removal. A dilator kit for percutaneous insertion is also included with the cannula. Easy flow cannulae are designed for safe, reproducible, direct aortic cannulation and include a malleable stylet to aid cannulation insertion, facilitating bloodless introduction into the aortic arch, as well as a special conical dispersion tip for a more gentle flow in the vessel to reduce shear stress.
Like all perfusion professionals today, we are busy and frequently short-staffed. Does taking time off for a conference create a burden for your teammates? Has reimbursement for your continuing education dropped? Have you priced the cost of going to a meeting lately? Registration fees, airfare, transportation and parking, hotel, and meals out? This totals up to having an out-of-pocket expense of over $2,500. And then you hope the content is good. Perfusion Education has heard your concerns. They have a simple and seamless system that works on any platform, computer, tablet, or even your phone. You can chat during the program or even phone in and be live on the air. The content, second to none. Perfusion Education is by Perfusionist and for Perfusionists. Create a free account and check us out today.
Okay, we are live and welcome back to PerfWeb 31, the fourth day of our four-part series this month for December. And before I forget, to everyone out there and to everyone here, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy New Year, Happy Holiday Season, whatever it may be for you. I wish all of you that and a safe and happy time during this holiday season. So, welcome to everybody to the show. Good afternoon. I'm your host, of course, Joe Basha, and I would like to tell you that our program is supported by advertising through LivaNova and Siemens Diagnostics. We want to thank them very much for that. We truly appreciate their support. Without it, it's very difficult to keep the light bill paid. Before I get started with the introductions, however, I would like to ask all of you to do us a huge favor. If you are watching us on the YouTube or the Facebook or the Twitter or LinkedIn, please do one of the following. Like us, share us, follow us, and or comment. And also for you YouTubers, please give us the thumbs up and click that subscribe button. Of all the things that happen, the social media stuff is so very important to us. So please take just a moment, subscribe, follow, like, share, all that kind of stuff. Also, please go to perfusioneducation.com and leave a testimonial. If you are actually getting your CEUs through us and use our Perfusion Education platform, it would be greatly appreciated for you to do that, because again, that's also very meaningful to us. Also, I want to add too, it's not up, they're not going to be able to show the graphic on this yet, but our nurse CE platform is getting very close to being ready, and our intention is to completely transform the online nursing, especially in particular critical care. That's really the direction we're going. Open heart surgery or surgical suite, cath lab, CVICU, intensive care medicine, emergency department, those kinds of things, and those nurses and also nurse practitioners. But we're trying to revolutionize the way you guys receive your education. And we want to bring you something that is a program that really gives you an opportunity to interact with the professional faculty that we're going to have and be able to earn your CEUs, or your CEs, excuse me, in all one place. This program, by the way, for the perfusionists out there, is approved for 1.8 Category 1 CEU by the ABCP. And I think if you did all 4 days, I think it was 9.3 in total, but each day is broken up. We will also be using Slido today. Oh, wait, if you would like, I'm sorry, I skipped a spot. If you would like to be on our program as a presenter and join our robust resident faculty, just send us an email at contact@perfusioneducation.com. Let me just scroll down and give you an idea. Now, I'm going to be adding, replacing Stephanie's picture with another picture, and we're going to be adding Rodell, and we're also going to be adding Becky Bolkovac to this page as well. But as you can see, our resident faculty list is really growing, and I'm really proud of it. One of the things that I think makes this program really so great is the ability of ourselves to not only think outside of the box and come up with programming and topics that are unusual but yet very relevant to what we're doing every day for our jobs, but also our ability to attract some very, very well-known content experts on being able to come and lecture to us and teach us things that we just can't get anywhere else easily. You would have to go to so many meetings in order to see all of this stuff, because each meeting may have one or two really great topics and speakers, and here you can easily watch it from home or wherever you may be, or listen to us on our podcast, which is also going to be something that's going to be coming out pretty soon. And so we've got a lot of projects we're working on to continue to grow and enhance and to bring real value to you, our members and our followers and likers and subscribers. Okay, so I got that in one last time. We're also going to be using Slido today. We already have a poll up. Go to slido.com. In the hashtag area, put in PerfWeb31, and there's already a question on there. And the question is, I currently blank my job. Love it, like it, hate it, indifferent, whatever it is, whatever the answers are on there. And we'll be looking at that poll here shortly to see what your answers are. I'm somewhat curious about that. When you see this animation, that means that the phone lines are open. And I think what we're going to do today is we're just going to open the phone lines and we're just going to leave them open. So if you feel like calling in and being live on the air and joining this discussion, please feel free to do so. We can hear you, you can hear us, other people can hear, and we can all learn from each other. Because I think what happened with this, getting on with the show, and I need to do the introductions, but can you put up the show itself? Like, let me see what that looks like. You could take the Perfusion education down, maybe. Yeah, there you go. So the topic for today is, how do I make myself more marketable? What do employers want to see? What do I want to see in an employer? And what makes for a good job and location? And how this happened was, we've sent out a survey and requested people send us responses with different topics that they would like to hear about. And I saw this one and it really struck me. Well, come to find out, this was actually submitted by Rodell, who I'll be introducing here shortly, but I didn't know that at the time. And I just thought it was a really interesting topic to have a conversation with people who were either both employers and employees, and also, of course, ask for you all to call in and join the conversation. So let me do the introductions, if I may. Immediately to my right is Stephanie Ebus. You all know Stephanie, of course. She's an Ohio State graduate. She's worked in a variety of locations, and she is currently the practice manager here in Houston, Texas, with Houston Extracorporeal Technologies. She manages a staff of about 12, and she is really expert in adult cardiac surgery, adult ECMO. Do you have much ped experience?
No.
You really don't have much ped experience,
Nope.
but mostly adult, but adult ECMO, interesting cases like hyperkalemia cases, or systemic hyperkalemia cases for myocardial preservation. She's also an expert in angiovac, and she's really become, for us anyway, she's an incredibly good manager. And I think she's going to have some good perspectives to share with you all. Very well respected by both the hospital administrations, but also her team, some of whom are actually here on the panel with us today. So I think that's going to be a good conversation. So welcome again, Stephanie. I know you've been here several times, and that's her ad she's done. She wants to redo it. You saw the ad where I actually showed her the ad of Tatiana from USA Direct Insurance.
Your favorite
at New Day
commercial?
USA. Yes, my favorite commercial, and I think she did an exquisite job. So if you could, send a comment about that. Next
You
to
don't
her,
have to.
please do, is Becky Bolkovac. Becky, of all things, and I didn't really know this, grew up in Tangipahoa Parish in Louisiana. Basically my neighbor, and I didn't even know that. Somehow she ended up in Pennsylvania and went to college and to her undergrad and then Perfusion school at Shadyside, graduating in 2007. She's worked in her career now a variety, which spans 11 years, a variety of, or 12 community hospitals around the country. She is now here in Houston with us, Houston Extracorporeal Technologies, and she's working down at Memorial Southeast, down in the southeast portion of Houston. Most of what we've usually done is up in the northwest side, so we kind of crossed the boundary there, and we really appreciate her help down there. It's really helped to stabilize and solidify our relationships there. She has helped in the opening of new heart programs at a hospital in Virginia. Now, was that as an employee of the hospital or as a private group?
I was with third party, yeah.
A third party, okay,
Yeah.
very good. So that'll be interesting to see. Her interests and expertise is in adult cardiac surgery. She is relatively new to ECMO, and she's currently being mentored here in Houston by Stephanie and Rodell with HET because we do a lot of ECMO here. She moved here to be in a busier, more progressive environment so she can continue to develop as a clinical perfusionist and be a part of the continuing evolution of cardiac surgery vis-a-vis minimally invasive, TAVR, new types of cases. And let me elaborate. What else? Besides those things, do you have an interest in education? Do you have an interest in this, for example? You know, besides wanting to learn more about minimally invasive cardiac surgery, TAVRs, new types of cases like angiovac and the hyperkalemia stuff that we do, some of the really neat stuff that we do here. What else?
I do have an interest a little bit in education. I did help try to train some of our nurses when we were starting our new heart program with when we did implement ECMO there, trying to get them used to seeing ECMO in the ICU. So we did have some discussion with some nurses there. So I did get kind of an interest in education at that point, but you know, really haven't done much
So
more than that.
what do you think about educating nurses, teaching nurses to be nurse ECMO specialists? Do you think that's a good idea, or do you think that's not a good idea?
I think it's a good idea as long as the facility is something that can hold that, meaning like you're doing enough cases to support the education and continued experience.
Yes, very good. So are you a believer in a nurse-run program or a blended program? Which do you think is better?
I think it should be blended.
I
I mean,
concur.
at least at first, you know, it started out that way until they're completely educated and comfortable.
And more than likely, unless they're doing 20 ECMOs a year minimum,
Right.
I think it will always remain a blended program, is my opinion.
Yeah.
And then last but not least is my second favorite, Rodell.
No,
Rodell.
actually
I'm
third,
shooting
because
up.
there's men first. He's not
Yes.
here.
Yeah.
I'm assuming I'm your second.
She is
That was an assumption.
strong assumption.
So
Strong
he'd be your
assumption.
third
So-
favorite.
So,
Okay.
So, with that said, now, Rodell Ebus, perfusionist extraordinaire, he is actually married to Stephanie, and it's been a real pleasure to work with him and his ability to work in that environment where his wife is his supervisor at work. But Rodell has made it very clear to me he's the boss at home. I understand that too. So,
Absolutely.
but he is a graduate of the Texas Heart Institute. He moved up to Detroit. He's been a clinical instructor. Yes, clinical instructor. I thought I was saying it wrong again. With students from Rush University Perfusion School and also
And Ohio State. When it
and
was
Ohio State when it was open, of course, and that was a real loss, I think, to
Yes.
lose Ohio State.
Was.
Rodell has both an interest and an extraordinary amount of expertise in adult cardiac surgery, in ECMO, and he has, I think you've done a couple of the hyperkalemia cases,
Yes.
so very strong in the minimally invasive mitral valve perfusion department. Also becoming more adept at the angiovac procedure. I think you've done them before prior to
I
even
have.
coming here. You know, really all around just well-rounded perfusionist. And he has done an exceptional job of teaching our staff here a lot of things because, of course, my belief is when you get your CCP, I consider it a ticket to learn. I don't
Absolutely.
consider it to be a stop measure. I don't believe that's you've not reached the mountaintop. That just gets you a ticket to get to the base of the mountain, and now you got to climb to the top, and you really probably are never going to get there. Anyway, so this is our esteemed panel, and I think that it carries a wide range of both experience, expertise, perspective. Everybody came from somewhere. You have over 20 years of experience. You have 12 years of experience. You have over 20 years of experience.
17.
17 years, well, nearly 20
Yeah,
years of
nearly
experience. These are really, when you think about it, at least from these three, excluding Rebecca, or Becky preferred, we have already worked a career. You are a little over halfway of working what is considered an entire career. So, you know, you've got a lot of experience, and we all have some perspectives. For those of you out in the audience, you may be new grad, you may be a couple of years out, you might be even somebody who's been in one place for almost your entire career. You could very well be a person who's just like Becky and been out 10, 12 years and wondering, is this really all perfusion is? So it's all experience, exposure, perspective, everything matters. So let's go to the very first part of Rodell's suggested topic. How do I make myself more marketable? Rodell.
Actually, it's kind of funny. I really wanted to be anonymous with this topic because I didn't want to make it look like, hey, I'm leaving. I mean, I'm like fishing for ideas here.
What?
Yeah. No, I'm not leaving. I'm not leaving. Trust me.
Are you giving your notice today?
No, I am
Okay,
not.
good.
Oh gosh, no. So, I kind of asked the question: how do I make myself more marketable? To me, being more marketable seems like, you know, a good model employee, or like someone that needs to be, you know, that needs to be on the team. You're indispensable. And to me, it means that like I'm keeping up with the technology. I'm on the bleeding edge. I'm not on the cutting edge. I'm on the bleeding edge.
Gotcha.
You know, and for me, I love technology. You know, and I love everything that comes with it. You know, always breaking that barrier. You know, always being that type of pioneer. You know, when we talked about angiovac earlier in the week, Mark had said, there was a perfusionist that said, hey, this is the most dangerous technique. I refuse to take part in it, and walked right out. And I said to myself, well, that's a terrible way to look at it. You know, we try to give away too many things, and we're losing so much ground, and that does not sit well with me. Mm-hmm. Like, you know, we're all experts.
So that's not going to, in other words, what you're saying is that's not going to make that person very marketable.
Correct.
If they go to a hospital and they say, hey,
Like,
we
hey.
do angiovac here,
Right.
and they say, oh, the
Because-
last case I did, I
because-
walked out because I didn't think it was a good idea.
Exactly.
So-
Because like one day, maybe angiovac becomes the standard of care.
Oh,
Now
I think
you
it will.
just, you know, and now you've just taken it down 100 pegs.
Mm-hmm.
And now you look like the fool.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
Absolutely.
So, you know, being marketable is, to me, means open to different ideas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yes, I've done this 17 years. Of course, I have I can be a stalwart when it comes to certain things, but when I see something that I'm really interested in and I find a thing I'm passionate about, I'm going to run with the ball. I told you when I first came on, like I am no bench warmer. Put me in the game, coach. I'm ready to play.
And that resonated with me, frankly. So, you know, coming at it from the perspective of an employer to a prospective employee, I think, you know, that was something that was meaningful to me. So an employer really wants to hear that you are truly interested in working. But I will caution this. You can't just say it.
Right.
You can't just talk the talk.
Right.
You got to walk the walk.
Of course.
You know, and that's very important. Becky? What can you do to make yourself more marketable?
I agree with Rodell that, you know, you have to stay with the times as far as being open and willing to try different things maybe that you're not really even, you know, comfortable with maybe, you know. I don't really know.
In other words, maybe, well, you have to convey something. Well, you just recently interviewed.
Right.
You just,
Yeah.
I mean, you've been to several jobs. Have you ever been turned down for a job?
No.
Never. Okay, that's good.
Oh, good for you. That's awesome.
That's awesome. Yeah.
That's a good feeling.
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
You know, I
Right.
wonder why.
Yeah.
But so, you know, what about being not necessarily being arrogant, because that's dangerous, but
Right.
coming across as humbly confident.
Right.
Because what we do is, you know, you have to have a lot of respect for if you come across as fearless,
Right.
that can be perceived as reckless.
Right.
I think
But-
that mentality is definitely a huge thing. Being marketable, you have to think that you don't know everything. You have to be confident enough to be willing to do it, but you also have to know that I don't know everything about it. I don't have all the answers. That's a big part of our job as well. I mean, if you think you know everything, that could lead to complications and troubles down the line, I think.
No, I think it frequently does. I would
Yeah.
agree with that 100% when you think you know too much,
Right.
or you think you know everything.
Right.
So with that said, how much of you were having a conversation with a prospective employer, and they asked you a question such as, so you know, what do you think you do that you could do better? How would you answer a question like that?
Everything. I'm always learning.
That's, I think, the key.
Yeah.
I'm always willing to learn.
Yeah.
I never assume I know everything. And I always assume there's always something better that I could do. I strive for better. You know, I accept, you know, good, because the enemy of good sometimes is better. It's better, right? And you have to remember that. But, you know, you have to do it in a controlled, organized, and thoughtful way.
Sure.
You just don't change because it sounds better. You really think things through.
Yeah.
You know, you want to be like that. Stephanie, from a manager perspective, what do you think about what can people do out there who may be young and looking for, or older, doesn't matter, to make themselves more marketable?
Well, I think those are two very different answers. If you're young, I think the thing that I'm looking for with newer grads or, you know, first couple years out is that they have a drive to work, to learn. I'm looking for someone that seems like they want to stay with us. I wouldn't want to hire someone unless they were upfront with me saying, hey, I'm going to give you 3 years and then I'm planning on moving on. Then I can make that decision, and I probably would do that. But if I was unsure, or it seemed like it was someone that could very easily transition all the time, I would probably be more hesitant to hire them. For someone older, I think, I mean, and the key that we've all been talking about, the word is adaptability. And with the young too, but I'm assuming younger people should know that they're going to have to be adaptable and learn and grow. But I think sometimes the older perfusionists, I'm really watching for, do you still feel that way? Do you feel adaptable? Are you going to be willing to do what it takes to be a perfusionist now? I mean, I think there's this bell curve of, you know, work hard, and then eventually, I mean, we get tired. We don't want to work as hard, you know?
Right.
I mean,
So that was my question.
and that's a
too.
hard
Right.
hard thing for me. Like, if I don't see that in someone, to take that on, you know, initially knowing like this person doesn't really want to work that hard.
Right.
So
And that's, that's problematic. Although, we can get into this
unless
later
we have that
about what
arrangement,
makes a
you
good
know,
job, but
and what makes
I
it
don't want to get ahead of myself here.
Right.
Go ahead, Rodell.
So here again, this is why I asked this question. Yes, I'm 17 years out, like from school. Like, do employers look at me as a person who is such a stalwart, not adaptable? This guy, no, he just does his own thing. He's an old dog that does not want to learn new tricks.
well, for you, that's not true. I know.
Well, I mean, for me, but that's kind of the look. It's like, hey, you've got 15 years experience or whatever. You have.
To me, that's not really that much,
No.
It really
And
isn't, but
That's my
it really
perspective
isn't.
is that's not really very much.
It's not.
I like
but
a range of employees.
Of
like,
course.
I don't want to have too many of any one thing. I want new up and coming, the hungry young people that want to learn and push the older people to teach and grow. And I want the really stable, solid base of people. I want all of it. So I think it's just where you're coming in when you go in for an interview, where you're coming into that place.
Again, that's what I said. I mean, I was told one time in my career I was not as desirable because
you married another perfusionist.
Well, no, not because of that. No, not because of that. Because I was less desirable because I had been out for so long.
No, that is true.
And I was unable to, say, adapt to certain situations.
I've never felt like that here, but in our
I've never
in
felt
our
like
group,
that, but
it was
said to me.
It was said to both of us actually that these people, everyone wants to hire them. They're in the 3 to 5, 7 year mark where they're going to get the most out of them for the money. They're not set in their ways. They're willing to move. Those are the people that are going to get targeted for jobs. And you guys are past that.
Yeah.
It's almost, I can tell you right now.
That's very disappointing.
We're put out the pasture.
And that is we're going to get to that. We need to write a note for me so I can remember. But that's going to be on the section of what makes, what
job.
do I do to see, what do I want to see in an employer? So I'll address that, or what do employers want to see? That's going to be important because I wanted to get to that. But how much of this marketability, which we haven't touched on yet, that I want to, if I may, how about a sense of inherent curiosity in when you go in for an interview somewhere, that you are able to talk about things that you're curious, you exhibit a mentality of you have multiple interests and you want to learn about this and you want to learn about that, and I want to come here because you do this, and it's something I have an interest in. That you're coming at you're approaching the job interview with your employer where you understand what your employer's program is, or what your prospective employer's program is, and that you have enough curiosity and to demonstrate that to them, that you're a person who's going to be you're going to be an asset to this organization. You're going to bring value to this institution, because the end of the institution, or this situation, to me, whatever the situation may be. So what I look for when I'm talking to people is that they have an inherent sense of curiosity, that they have, and this is the number one thing, that they have a true passion for what they do. At the end of the day, if I discover through various techniques of having conversations with somebody that they really just do perfusion because it's just what I know and it's a job and I really don't love it, it's just a good way to make a decent living, I don't want to hire that person.
What percentage of perfusionists do you think that is?
Low. I think it's low. I think at best, I would give it, and I'm going to try to assign a number to it, but don't hold me to it. I would say no more than 15%, but they exist.
Sure.
They absolutely exist. If you don't truly love what you do, please just do something else. Because this job requires a level of passion that exceeds that of most other jobs. It's certainly compatible with physicians, heart surgeons, with air traffic controllers.
Sure.
You've got people's lives in your hands. The other thing that I look for is someone who is very diverse in their what their interests are, that they have a lot of interests outside of work. The other thing that worries me when I talk to a prospective employee is, or somebody, a team member that's going to join our group, is someone who lives, sleeps, eats, breathes nothing but work. That is, for me, a trigger. I look for people who have outside interests. They love doing things with their family. They like to go hunting. They like to do competitive bow and arrow shooting. They like to, they enjoy traveling. They enjoy, they're involved in historical societies, something like that. I look for people who have a broad sense of interests, a broad group of interests that are unrelated to their actual job, but still having ultimate love and passion for the job that they do. Single-dimensional people, I don't feel, and the reason why isn't because they're not good clinicians. They typically do not ever get along with others very well. That's the number one problem associated with people that are like that. So if you are one of those people, I highly recommend you take a step back and you start looking at some outside interests and start thinking about, no, because I'm serious. I mean, it really is an issue.
That's true.
I've dealt with people like that before. In fact, if you really want to know the truth, I'll have a moment of confession, if you will. I used to be like that. The first, 10 years of my career. That is the person that I was. And you know what? I was a miserable human being. I didn't have very many friends in this industry. I was very difficult to work with. I had all kinds of conflicts. And I recognized eventually that it's the lowest common denominator of all the issues wasn't everybody else. It was me. And I needed to change. So I come from this not only from the perspective of having the experience as an employer now, but also I have that personal experience that I know what that really means. And so that was it. That's it for that. Okay, so
I want to say one more thing.
Please.
As far as making, because I didn't really talk about the way I feel about making myself more marketable. My approach has been, because I think you should also consider making yourself more marketable within the group you're already working. If you're not marketable where you're working, as far as ability to advance and grow, then you're not going to be marketable outside of that. And the way that I feel like I've personally done that is, if you're a person that's always looking at what other people in the group are doing, like, why do I have to do this case that's harder, or takes longer, or work with this surgeon that's more difficult because these people are unwilling or don't want to.
Because they're not allowed.
Or can't, right. I took the approach of that I'm never going to be overworked in this job. So whatever I'm assigned or asked to do, I'm going to do it, and do it to the best of my ability, and not worry about what everyone else is doing. And I think that really changed in my mind of not comparing to anyone else, but just making myself, and I think it made a difference, making the group stronger and myself better, and stop worrying about always fairness, or why should, you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do that. Why do I have to do that? I see that a lot in groups, and I think you should just show your value to your employer the best that you can, and be satisfied that, I don't know, even if cuts are coming or anything like that, like, you're not going to be one of those people that would easily be replaced.
I agree with that 100%. However, and with that said, that also depends on and requires either supervisors in your group or your employer having the openness in order to be able to recognize that,
Right.
because many do
That's
not.
true.
In
Right.
fact, I would say unlike what I said, that a very low percentage, maybe 15%, that's at least that's my perspective. Again, don't hold me to that, of perfusionists just really don't love their job. They're just doing it because it's their job. So that's a low percentage. Conversely to that, I think employers who only look at employees as cannon fodder, in essence, is a much higher percentage, in my view. This is, again, my opinion, so I want to make sure I'm clear on that. So that segues really very well, very good points you brought up, however, into oh, by the way, the first poll was very low end number, so if you could help me out with this next one, but it was 100% that people loved their current job, okay? So
It was
but
100%?
100% loved their current job.
Everybody
but it was a
out there
very,
loves their job.
It was a very low end number.
Low.
Yeah, very, very low end number. So can we get that up a little bit? The next question that is on the poll is, I believe my employer actually cares about me as a person. That's the next poll question. I'd like to get a little higher end number, so if you could go to slido.com and do it, it'd be great. I'd appreciate you. Oh, look, somebody answered as soon as they did. Was it you? Was it you that did it? No? Okay, I thought somebody was just joking with me. Okay, so we have a vote. Good, thank you. Okay, so we got to keep going. We got to keep getting more votes. With that said, we have the next topic, which is, what do employers want to see? Well, I think we sort of covered that, but we'll do it again. I told you what I want to see. I want to see a person, I don't care whether you're young and I don't care whether you're old. I don't care. It doesn't make any difference. Whether you're younger and new in this career or you're older and established. I want to see, if you don't mind my taking it first.
Oh, absolutely.
I want to see somebody who has a passion for what they do. I want to see a person who has curiosity about anything and everything, just a curious mind. I really, really, really like that. The other thing I want to hear is that you have dedication to your job, because we're in healthcare. This is unlike loss prevention at Target. The store doesn't close at 10 o'clock. So your hours can be sometimes very reasonable and great, and other times all hell breaks loose and you're working more than you would ever want to work. That has to be balanced, but I want somebody who takes the good with the bad. I want to know that you are a person who will be happy and work hard when the schedule is nice and basically steady, and even when it gets real slow, but also when things ramp up and things are going crazy. I want to know that you will step up, that I won't hear the whining and the crying and the everything else that comes with it. But at the same time, I want a person who wants to be respected equally as a person, and that not in an environment where they're going to be essentially just worked like they're in a concentration camp, on call 24/7, 365, like a single person account or something like that, where they don't care if they ever have any time off or anything else, and basically just will be consumed by work. I want somebody who respects the profession, respects their job, wants to participate in the growth and development of the practice, taking care of patients, bringing real value, but who also wants to be respected in return and expects for the employer, whomever that may be, institution, group, physician group, however it plays out, hospital, internal, however, that you are going to be treated as a person as well, and that they're going to do everything they can to make sure you have an appropriate and fair work-life balance. Sometimes you get it's great, and the schedule is down, it's light, no problem, and the employer's not saying to you, oh, you need to take vacation time. Oh, no, you have to come in and pull suture from the wheels, or you need to clean rooms, or you need to do this, whatever it may be, to get that little bit of work out of you. But then when all hell is breaking loose, they're saying, oh no, you have to work, you're going to make overtime, we're going to compel you to work. No, it works both ways. What I look for in a person is that they are respectful enough of themselves to say, this is what I'm willing to do. I'm willing to give, but I also have an expectation that you will give as well. That is important to me. Maturity, being able to interact with other people. I want to see that. I want to know that you can talk to anybody and have a discussion. And I also look for confidence, not overconfidence, not arrogance, not cockiness, but rather confidence in yourself. That's what I look for. And the willingness to say, I messed up, I was wrong, I made a mistake. This is how I'm going to correct it. That's what I want to see.
So the question is, Joe, how do you see that in the 1 hour you're interviewing?
I don't ever interview somebody for just an hour, except him. That was on the phone, but he was married to you.
I interviewed for him.
You interviewed for him. That's true.
I did.
That's true. Sometimes when you're in, but that's the next question. Sometimes when you're an employer, what do employers want to see? No, I guess it's this one.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when you're in the position that I was in at the time, you know, you make decisions based on, you know, a lot of objective data, a lot of subjective data, but then you also make a lot of decisions on gut instinct. And how you were, how you interviewed, how you talked with me, how you came to a meeting in order to have that interview and participated, and I could sort of watch you, it was sort of obvious to me that I wouldn't think, my gut instincts told me you're probably not married to a schlep, which ended up being correct. My intuition was correct. Okay, so with that said,
Good for both of us, right?
good for both of us, right? So that's how that turned out. In fact, Becky, we hired both Becky and her husband. Her husband was a perfusion assistant at UAB, and we did our interview with Skype. I did have more verbal conversation with you, but then also Stephanie and I also talked with your husband in that particular thing. So it wasn't the perfect interview, but, and maybe this has to do with just being, you know, older. I was a cop at one time, as some of you may know, and I have this experience. I do have some gut instincts. Now, I'm not always right, but in this particular case, I was.
Is that a call?
Yeah, it is a call.
Oh.
See who it is, and we'll put them on. Rodell?
So, I guess here's a question. I mean, when we put references down, do you often check them? I mean,
absolutely.
Okay. I don't know how much faith you put in, you know, references.
I feel like I
put faith.
check the references not given. I don't know.
Yes.
Right.
But we do that too. We have
do
our own.
both,
We have
right?
our own little tricks.
Okay. I didn't know what your vetting process was.
We do vet.
Well,
Of course you do, but I didn't know what your process
You
was.
have to remember that Perfusion is a very small fraternity.
Sure.
And there's only, who is it? John Ingram? Hey, just be patient. Hey, John, wait 1 second. I'll be right with you. But it's only 4,300 of us in all of North America.
Of course.
And so it's not hard to find someone who knows someone that worked with you at some point in time, or works with your, works with your employer, or works with somebody. You know, it's just not that hard.
Right.
And people, I would recommend people should do their due diligence. But what I want to see really was the question is, I just want somebody who I feel is an honest person, is a curious person, who's a dedicated person, who is a curious person, who has is trustworthy, and who has a reasonable professional level expectation of a work-life balance. Those are the things that I look for.
That you were personally looking for.
Yes. John.
Yes, how you guys doing?
Doing
Hey,
good.
Hey,
Go ahead.
John.
Hey guys, you guys look great. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you fine.
Yeah.
Thank you. Who looks the best?
That's a terrible question.
Stephanie.
Stephanie, well, that
John.
kind of hurt Rebecca. That hurt Becky's feelings.
It kind of hurts my feelings as well. I don't know. Whatever. Thanks, John.
Kind of harsh there, John.
Thanks, John.
Go ahead.
Well, she was the only one in my camera view when you asked that.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Nice
Okay.
save. Nice save.
Touche. All right. So what's your comment on what do employers want to see?
So, yeah, you guys are making a lot of good points, and I'm going to say one or two things that you've all heard before, but no one's quite said it. As you know, Joe, I had my own group back years ago, and I had as many as 18 people under me. So I've interviewed for jobs, and I've been interviewed for many jobs. So there's one big thing that we all, and you guys have sort of touched on this, but you didn't say it. But this goes on both sides of the fence. As the interviewer, you care about this, and as the interviewee, you care about this. And to me, it's a huge one, and that is the person a real team player? And
Yes.
is the
True.
group you're going to work with, are they team players? I had an
Right.
experience several years ago. I flew way across country from Florida to take a job on the other side of the country, I won't say where, and we all went to dinner. The interview was all day at the hospitals and then to dinner. Everybody was very nice, very personable, and it's really hard to tell what happens in an interview anyway, I think, even if it's not for just a short time. But the thing that I want to find out is, does everybody help everybody out? Oh yes, we all very good about helping everybody out. Well, I took that job, and there was probably 8 perfusionists in a town that had 2 busy hospitals we were covering. Every single time that somebody needed something, I said yes. If a group text would go out, nobody answers, I answer, I'll cover for you. I don't feel well, I have an issue at home. My son's going to a marathon tomorrow. I want to be at the marathon to watch him run it. I covered. This went on for almost an entire year, and I realized that every time somebody asked on a group text, everybody goes silent. Nobody acts like they got the text. So I would answer, and then it became one time when I needed one day off. I had to fly out of town. I had a family thing, and I had to beat people over the head to get somebody to help me. I left that job shortly after that.
Yep. Don't blame you one bit. Don't blame you one bit.
Yeah, I interviewed at one place where there was one person interviewing me, but there were several perfusionists there, and they all were just on their computer reading magazines, and they didn't even say hi to me. And
They didn't look up.
They didn't even, they kind of said hey, but they had no part of the interview. It seemed like they didn't even care at all, and I knew that wasn't going to be the job for me. So.
Yeah, I would have felt the exact same way. I don't think I would want that. Well, John, let me ask you a question. So there was a time when there was a glut, a true glut. And you remember that time. You may remember it too. I'm not sure if you really remember it, but there was a time when there was just a true glut of perfusionists. There were so many of us. You didn't know people. There were a lot of unemployed perfusionists, and you would go to a job interview, and they were pretty picky, but most of it had to do with money. Sure. The salaries were just really depressed, and I had never had a difficult time finding a job or finding work during that period of time. But definitely they were able to be highly selective. Over the past probably 8 to 10 years now, maybe not that long, I would say 6 to 8 years, because it didn't start out that way. 11 years ago it wasn't like that. 6 to 8 years ago it started with a relative shortage, which I think eventually became really almost critical. And now I think the pendulum is swinging back the other way. But I still think we're in a shortage thing. And it's kind of like real estate, right? You've got a buyer's market and you've got a seller's market. But I have seen people hired without even having met the people that they were going to be working for to get hired that fast. And what I have seen is people taking jobs, chasing money, and ending up in places that were horrible. They didn't stop and say, I want to look and see what this job is. They chose. So I've seen the pendulum on both sides of the extreme. The employers being just real cheap because they knew they had a glut and they could find somebody, so I'm going to depress the salary. And then fast forward all the way to the other extreme, or the farthest point that the pendulum swung, and I see employees now not caring about all the other things that make a job great and just chasing the money. And I think that both will end up being mistakes ultimately, because as the pendulum swung, these people couldn't suddenly hire people, and they weren't then able to make the adjustment with the salaries going up. And I think what's going to happen here is people are going to get stuck in jobs where they're actually going to start cutting their salary, but there's not going to be an opportunity like there is now for them just to jump to someplace else. And so I think there's these two extremes that can occur. John, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, you make a good point. The thing that I would focus on, and this is a two-way street also, from the employee looking for this and the employer looking for this. Why is the person leaving their present job? In other words, when you ask the interviewer, why are you leaving your other job, you're going to get an answer that they've thought of, and it probably sounds pretty good, but is the employer of that person equally as unhappy with them? Mm-hmm. They're not there to tell you that. Mm-hmm. That employer is not there to tell you that. Mm-hmm.
And can't legally. They won't say anything.
You may seem to be a great interviewer and great employee, but are you inheriting, as an employer, are you inheriting somebody else's problem?
Right.
So to speak, right? By hiring that person.
Right.
And I've seen that happen. How many people call the person's employer, and the interviewee doesn't want their employer to know they're thinking about leaving, so you're a little bit handcuffed on calling their employer and say, oh, I'm interviewing your guy, and now he doesn't get hired, and now that interviewer is kind of got a black eye at work that he has to live with now, right? So a lot of people don't call the employer where the person's coming from, so they don't get a true, reason as to maybe why they really are leaving. It's totally different than what they were telling you.
Yeah, but I think they can actually sue you too for doing that. But on the side of what do I want to see in an employer, I would tell the youth or anybody out looking for a job, I would want to see an employer, as I said, that truly values them as a person, who actually has a genuine interest in them being happy, that provides for a high level of professional development. It's not always just about money. It can be, I guess, some people, that's all they think of, but I can tell you right now, a $10,000 a year difference in money sounds like a lot, but if the job is horrible, there's no amount of money in the world that's going to make that $10,000 up. What you're looking for, if you're looking for a job, is something that provides to you what it is important to you. In other words, don't take a job at a place that is like a medical center, quaternary care facility where they're doing everything under the sun, if that's not where your passion is.
Agreed.
But then also don't take a job in the middle of Podunk, Egypt, because they're willing to pay you all this money, but you barely do 30 cases a year and you can't even maintain your certification when you're trying to develop your skills as a perfusionist. So you have to look at the job, and then again, who your teammates are going to be. Are these people nice people? Do these people seem to actually like each other? Don't be, just go in there with looking through rose-colored glasses, so to speak. You have to actually engage with people and ask some of these questions. And you can tell when somebody's being sincere and somebody's making it up. usually you can. I mean, of course, everybody can be duped. I've been duped a few times in my life, but more than likely, again, that thing that we all have right here in our in the solar plexus region, that gut instinct we get. Don't go chasing the money. If you're an employee looking for a job, and look for a job that meets your personal goals, that can help you meet your personal goals professionally, and of course has a decent work-life balance, and you're going to work with people who treat you like the professional and with the respect that every professional and indeed human being deserves. You want to work in a respectful work environment. That's what I would say you need to look for.
So yesterday they had the conversation about dealing with difficult surgeons. I wanted to ask you guys, what do you think, how big of a role do the surgeons play on job satisfaction, would you say? And would you ever be able to know that before you took a job?
That's a good question.
Well, if I could interject there, because
Sure.
I actually asked that one very early on, and there's a very nice way to do that without the employer that you're interviewing with kind of realizing that you're doing it. So you kind of ask, you guys have fast surgeons here? Everybody cares about fast surgeons, right? And they'll say, yeah, we have a couple guys that are really fast, and then we have one or two not so. Then we have one guy, you're not gonna get out till 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And you're like, oh, okay, well, that's understandable. They all can't be fast. And a little bit later, you find out that not only is it take forever, he's the one that, well, not all of our people really work with him because he doesn't really want to work with everybody. And if you slowly talk about and ask about the surgeons that are there and, start off with their skill set and speed set, you'll usually figure out pretty quick that there's a surgeon or two in the group that one of the reasons why we can't hold on to people here, and I've stumbled across that, many times. Joe, let me ask you a question real quick and I'll hang up. Do you have a probationary hiring time frame when you hire somebody, 90 days or 6 months?
90 days.
Yeah.
90 days, yes. We have 90 days. Now, we can extend that if needed, but 90 days is usually it. But thus far, we have, knock on wood, since Stephanie took over as the manager and the person who runs this company better than I, we've had awfully good luck, and no one has not ever passed their probation with us. In fact, right now, we just have, I believe, I don't mean to go off track here, but I have to say it because I'm really proud of it. I think that we have probably the strongest team and knowledgeable and kind-hearted and helpful and team players and all of that. I think we have the best group that I've ever seen in 41 years, frankly. So if you know anybody that's looking to move to Houston that wants to work for just a really dynamic, very innovative company that treats people well and provides for a multitude of opportunities for good work-life balance, but also professional development, and being a part of, just something different. We consider ourselves a really solid group of people that genuinely care about each other, but again, they also give of themselves a great deal. And if you think you're a person that would fit in well with us, we are certainly hiring. So John, in all your travels,
please.
Call Stephanie.
Everybody call.
If we're
Except
looking
for that one person that put 100% love their job.
Yeah. Well, even then, no, that's even better, because you know what? You come here, you'll find out.
Hard to get her.
You'll find out that you had put your standards too low, because you'll really find out why you should love a job. You like that, huh?
I do.
But refer them to us, John. We certainly could use. We certainly have an opening. John?
Yeah, I was the one who put 100% love my job. How'd that go?
Oh, there you go.
Good for you.
Good.
So, Joe, there's a lot of people that are looking for jobs, experienced people. I think you guys have a Texas license requirement. That's a little bit of a...
We do.
So I would love, I've never asked you, I said, you ever need help? I can come out and help you, but I have 11 state licenses. I don't have Texas though.
Well, I don't know
So
that
I
you
have
can
to
get through
uncover that
I'm
one.
not sure you can get through our interview process, John. We'll have to talk about that.
Yeah, what are your
So-
interests, John?
Yeah.
I think the biggest issue is I don't think you could afford me, Joe.
Oh.
Here we go.
Oh, okay. Well, you know what they say. You know what they say. If you have to ask, then you probably can't afford it. Okay, so I'm not going to ask.
Yeah.
So with that said,
I'm very one-dimensional.
understood that. But you know what? We got more answers on this latest poll. I believe my employer actually cares about me as a person. 40% absolutely, 60% maybe a little. So if you're within that 60%, 318-787-2825. That's 318-787-2825. We'll post it also on the video later. You can call our office, send us a CV via fax or email, whatever you want, but our office will give you the relevant information that you need, okay? So with all of that said, let's go on to the next topic if we could. John, you're welcome to stay on the phone if you want. What makes for a good job location? Now, this is a really good one, and I'm going to change the poll while we're doing that. So let's go to that, but I'm going to change the poll.
Difficult question.
Deactivate this one. So this next question is, my job provides for professional development. Yes, a lot, no, not at all, or somewhat. So those are the three questions. So go answer that poll, and let's start with Rodell. What makes for a good job location, Rodell?
What makes for a good job and location? For me, you know,
it makes Oh yeah,
And.
and
good job
location.
and location.
Sorry.
A lot harder to get both. But that was
It's
a good job.
Okay, well,
and
let's just
location.
say what makes for a good,
Good
job
job.
location. Let's just say good job location.
Okay.
What makes for a good job location? I think that's just more entertaining right now. That's the one I want to go with.
All right.
Okay, fine. For me, for a good job location, being from Detroit, I didn't care for the snow. I'll be honest with you. This is where I went to school.
Well, look at your coloring.
Oh, I know. Well,
You're
no, I just got
Filipino.
back. I know. I just got back from Mexico.
Yeah, but Filipinos don't do snow.
We don't do snow. Yeah.
A lot of
But you can
Filipinos
find me
do
in the snow. See, but the thing is, I can get rescued because
They
you can
go
find
to
me.
it.
You can
They don't
find
like
me
to
in the
live
snow.
in it.
They do though.
Right.
They
They
do.
live
They
there.
do.
They don't like it.
They do.
Correct.
But many of them have suffered frostbite.
This is true.
Uh-huh.
This is true.
They have. It's
Yeah.
true. They're more sensitive to it. Didn't you know that, Nicole?
Yeah.
It is. It's
Is
genetic.
this true?
Yes, absolutely.
There you go.
I think you're making that up.
Maybe.
didn't wanna
What
make
makes for a good job
Yeah,
location?
I didn't want to make a career-limiting move by saying no to him. But
Did I just do that? Uh-oh.
So what makes for a good job location? For me, again, it's a weather issue. Like, I do miss the four seasons. Don't get me wrong. But for me, I'm a city guy.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I love the suburbs, but I do love the entertainment of the city life.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I do like to get away. Don't get, like go out to a lake or, look at something pretty. Go out on a trail every once in a while. But I'm a city guy. I like to go see a show, or I like to go see like a professional sports team play. Like, I love hockey.
So what
you
you're
and I love hockey.
So what you're telling people is that it is subjective.
It is absolutely subjective when it comes to job location.
So when you're looking for a job, you want to look in a place that has the things you want.
Yes, I'm a little more cosmopolitan.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't know about my wife. She comes from a small town, and you have said to me before that it's like I wouldn't have done all these things until I got to Detroit. Like, I didn't know all these things we could do. So, like, not that Detroit is a big city. I mean, obviously Houston is the third largest city in the nation, right? I mean,
Right.
So there's a lot to explore still. I mean, we're only at a fraction of what we can see in the city. So that was kind of a draw for me, job location wise, and yeah, that's what it is for me. Like, I can be also in Texas. When I went to school here, they said, man, you can drive straight across Texas for 8 hours and you still be in Texas. I mean, there's still a lot to see. There's still a lot to see, just in what I call the country of Texas.
Very
Because
good.
it's so big.
Good thoughts, Becky?
As far as what makes a good job location,
Yep.
Definitely it's preference, you know, and there's some people who want to be like near the beach or, you know, for me personally, it was for to find that work-life balance, that when I'm not working, that I can go and experience different things that I may not have had, you know, at a smaller hospital where I was, you know, before, where I had those call restrictions more often and, you know, we weren't able to experience some of those things. So I think as far as like having what makes a good job and location is that you are at a job that gives you the opportunity to have that downtime, you know, to experience things outside of work.
Very good. Fair enough.
I think there's like
Oh, I'm
practical
sorry.
side.
Can we hear from the small town girl?
The small town girl.
Small town girl.
Small town
Yeah.
girl?
Yeah.
Well,
Hey, it's the
the
truth.
bad thing with small towns and perfusion is that you're very dependent on the changes at that one hospital in a small town.
Precisely
And,
what I was going to say.
Oh, I took
No,
your
that's
words.
okay. That's okay.
And even if you like living in a small town, it can at times be risky. You know, there's companies changing, like one surgeon leaving can make a big difference on your job. I know I was in Akron, Ohio, Akron-Canton area at a smaller hospital. And you go through a phase where, like, for a little while, it's super great because you, like, aren't working a lot and you have a lot of free time. So you have to be right in that, I don't know, right on that line of a good work-life balance. When it's too much life, not enough work, you start worrying about getting laid off and those kind of things. And for me, that did end up happening. You know, we lost a surgeon, another group came in, and I just made the decision at that point that I wasn't going to go back to a small town. I was going to go somewhere where there were a lot of job opportunities and a lot of flexibility with changes and, you know, with numbers. So here in Houston, where we work, it was one of the reasons, especially having 2 perfusionists in a family, we went more location-wise of practicality, a good cost of living with a good salary, working at multiple hospitals. So when one surgeon says, I'm not going to work here anymore, and they go work here more, we'll capture those hearts anyway. So I think our reasons were very practical. Now my super like fun side is like, oh, I want to live on the beach and
Right.
you know, warm and like also be in the city and go out. And so I think we just have to find the right balance.
And I think those are all really good points. And you brought up something I thought that was exactly where I was going to go, is that you have to be concerned. What makes a good location is, from my perspective, is having more than one heart surgery program,
Right.
where if something happens with yours, you're not stuck having to leave. So, or not knowing what to do, so to speak. And then, of course, these little contracts getting bought by one perfusion company and then another perfusion company, and then they go round and round, and everything is always changing and in flux, and you lose your surgeon, you lose everything. So this is what I told Becky. So when I hired Becky, they were living in a small town in Alabama. And John was working at UAB, and you were working in a different town, and you lost your surgeon at your account. You had a small private perfusion group that you were working with, and the contract, the surgeon they lost, and you were having to drive long distances in order to be able to. It's all good? Yeah. Okay. Drive long distances in order to be able to get your cases and work and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And you had, you know, of course, a lot of trepidation about wanting to leave and move to this big city, Houston, because it's a big city and it's a huge change from where you lived. But some of the issues that you had associated with that was that you have to now sell your house.
Right.
You buy a house, you're settled. The hospital goes belly up or whatever it may be, and moving from a small place is much, much harder. And I know you did it. You accomplished everything you needed to accomplish, and you're
And
here.
sold your house,
Yeah,
right?
we sold our house.
But you also had trepidation about coming here and not wanting to have the same thing happen again. So here's my advice to all of these folks out in web world is if you are looking at for a job, first of all, if you're a perfusionist and you want to live in Pensacola, good luck. You know, a job might open up there, and if it does, hopefully you know it at the time and you get it, but it's very hard to move in perfusion. Perfusion is, and it's going to get harder as, again, these schools keep pushing students out and the jobs that are open get filled and programs close and whatever happens, happens. But if you remember my conversation with you, I told you, I said, Becky, if you move down here and HET, it's very unlikely, but if HET just decided to explode one day and we weren't going to exist, first of all, the cases are still going to be done, so you're going to have financial stability and security, and there's a lot of other hospitals around town that have heart surgery and perfusion. The benefit of a large city is that you have that ability to move to different locations, to different jobs without having to physically move. So what I think makes for a good job location is a location where you have financial security, because without financial security, unless you're young, if you're really young and you're just going to rent a place, rent an apartment or whatever, and you're just going to make a bunch of money or whatever it might be, working in dreary, Erie, Pennsylvania, or someplace like that, Hoboken, or I don't know, think of some other town, you know, some small little town in the middle of nowhere where if the account goes belly up, you really don't care. You pack your things and you're just fine. You can move on and go someplace else. But that's a different issue. If you're married, you have family, you have children, and you're in that same situation in the middle of nowhere where you're on call all of the time. Every time you go to take your kid to their ball practice or their dance lessons or whatever it may be, soccer practice, you're going to get called. You're going to be the only one there. You're going to want to take vacation and they can't find vacation relief for you. That's going to be a chronic problem. And then when you lose your surgeon and the group you're working with doesn't have another place where they can put you, and they basically tell you, well, we're sorry, but thanks a lot. We just need to let you go. We can't just pay you and not work. We wish you the best. They're not going to help you find another job. You want to be in a geographical area where you're protected. So I would say what makes a great job is not only all of the things you talked about, that are subjective, where what part of the country you want to live in, what kind of practice you're looking for, what kind of extracurricular outside of work activities you have an interest in, whether it be beach, mountain skiing, whatever it might be, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. All those things notwithstanding are very important. But you cannot underestimate or not put on the top several of your ideal things that make the location great is that security piece, especially if you're married and you have a family. And you might go there as a young single man and then turn around and get married there and have children, and then all of this happens and now everybody has to pack up and move. It's just, you've really got to think it through for job location. And I think that we're seeing a reduction in smaller programs around the country in lieu of a more well-established, larger regional programs. I think we're seeing a lot of these small programs doing less than 100 cases, certainly less than 50 cases a year, are simply closing down.
Yeah, I mean, it's also hard for the cardiac surgeon, for the facilities to find a cardiac surgeon who wants to come
because there's
and
also
be a part
a
of that,
shortage
because
of cardiac
they're by themselves
surgeons.
and they're on call all the time, just like you are. You know,
Right,
so you
and
have
they don't
to,
want
they don't want
Why?
that work.
And
Why
they're
do they want that?
recruited daily.
Yes, yes, we're doing cases, and we have surgeons getting the phone's getting answered by the nurse in the room, and there's a recruiter trying to hire them to go someplace else while they're actually operating. They're calling them. They're
True story.
I know it's a true story. They're being very aggressive. Okay, so let's go around the table with some final thoughts, and anybody wants to chat anything in, that'll be fine. And let's see what the last poll did. Let's see if we got anything on the poll.
How much time do we left?
We did. We got actually answers on this one too. I'm so excited. The question was, my job provides for professional development. 75% said somewhat. 25% of you said yes, a lot. That's very good. Actually, I'm really proud of that because I feel like we do. I haven't even answered the poll. And then 0% said no, not at all. So 75% somewhat. I don't think that's good enough. I'd like to see that reverse. 75% yes, a lot. 25% somewhat. But again, that's what makes us who we are, because I think we provide for a high level of that. And one of the reasons why, if you're in one of those programs and maybe not completely satisfied, call that office number that I gave you and send us a CV or a resume and a little cover letter, and we will take a look at it. I think that's the best thing to do. Okay, let's go around the horn and get some final thoughts. Rodell.
So, what I wanted to say something that John was talking about, surgeon-wise. Someone tried to recruit me like a few months back, and
what?
I was gonna be honest. I'm gonna be honest. A friend of mine gave me a call and said, like, why don't you come down and talk to us? And I said, I'm actually kind of happy with where I'm at. I knew that program. I heard, I heard their reputation for, their surgeons not being very collegial, and I go, hey, how often do you speak to this surgeon, or how often do they take your requests or just expertise? And this person said, well, not very much. Well, part of my satisfaction to a job is, being a respected professional.
That's a very good point.
I'm not a pump monkey. I'm here trying to make a difference in end-stage heart disease. My success is your success, and vice versa. And for me to be able to speak to you when it's pertinent to the case with what I feel that needs to go on, they just turn around and just either don't say one thing or don't even acknowledge me. That's not the group I want to be working for. That's not a respected group. That's not what I trained. That's not what I've been trained to do. And that's just not the field I want to be in.
That's a very good point. And we didn't even discuss that. I didn't even bring that up. And that is such a good point.
With all the surgeons that I work with, it's not that I have a commanding presence or anything. I know how to address them and come up with something like, hey, Dr. So-and-so, I'm having problems with the rest. Do we want to do this or do we want to do this? They will stop and say like, no, I don't want to do that. Or, yeah, that's a great idea. At least they've acknowledged me. They understand that I have concerns, and it's being addressed because that's their patient. Mm-hmm. And they're expecting me to make decisions as well.
I do think we are blessed with some incredibly talented and very respectful surgeons, and even surgeons, anesthesiologists, intensivists, pulmonologists, everybody that we work
RNs,
with, even the nurses. Yes, the nurses. We're blessed with an incredible environment here.
It makes a huge difference.
It makes a huge difference, and we're not just at one health facility. We're with different facilities.
Yes, absolutely.
Not just one health system.
We're at 10 hospitals that do hearts.
Yes, that's correct.
That's a lot.
Correct. And in
one city.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel that we're respected, all 10 of them.
I agree, 100%. Miss Becky?
My thought is about what company, like choosing a company to work for. If you are looking for somebody to work with, you want to see people at the top, like your leaders, your managers, the owners of the company. You want to see them wanting to evolve and learn. That's really important, because when you're working for like maybe a bigger company or people who aren't as clinical, or you don't see them, you feel like the bottom line is like kind of the main thing, not your growth or their growth, So you kind of feel like there's a shift a little bit in, where you're gonna. Is your knowledge important? Is my knowledge important to you? You know, like what kind of product are we giving as far as how we represent ourselves in the company within the OR?
Yeah.
You know, and that should be important and the, you know, the main thing, not so much the bottom line, you know.
I agree with that. Now, granted, with that said, you do recognize that every business has to be profitable,
Oh,
right? I
yes,
mean, that's
absolutely.
a reality. But I think
Absolutely.
you're very, I just want to ask you this question as a follow-up, though. And I do respect people that, you know, I mean, they want to make a profit. I do think that there's profiting, and I also feel there's profiteering. So I do think there is a difference, but those are business decisions.
Yeah.
If you're charging more than somebody else, that's one thing. If you can get it, great. You know, okay, I'm fine with that. It's when you start cheating the quality of your care and paying your clinicians, who are the reason why you make a profit to begin with, and taking away benefits little by little. That's when I think you're becoming greedy. It's one thing to I'm just gonna charge this because I can get away with it. That's, you know, that's a philosophical business decision you can make. You may not keep the contract when they realize that there's more competitive rates out there, or they may be addressing it with you or something like that. But it's when you start nickel and diming your employees, and that's when you start running into problems with dissatisfaction and feeling like what you were saying is that they don't really care that what kind of a perfusionist you are. You're a warm body that's going to sit behind it. That's what you don't want. That's what you're looking to not be around. I agree with that 100%. Miss Stephanie?
So the way I've been approaching hiring the last few employees is that what we're representing as a perfusion company, because we are a private group, are our perfusionists. I mean, really, that's what they're paying for, the perfusionists, to provide good care. And if I hire people that maintain good relationships with the hospital and their other co-workers, and grow in education, grow in their knowledge, provide good care, partner with the surgeons, we're going to be successful as a group and as a company. So who I hire really has a lot of impact on the group. It can either add to our group or detract from the group. And the thing that has been hard with the market being so easy to find jobs right now and hard to hire is it's hard to recruit, because it has to be just the right time for people to move, like you said, move their families and move their spouses and sell their house. So there's really great people that might want to come, but it's hard to get them here in the time that we need them. Other times we don't need to hire and people are calling and it's not the right time for us. So I think it is a little tricky in the perfusion world. You know, I always want to hire slowly to get the right people, and I want to be choosy. And in this market where there's so many so few perfusionists to hire that are looking, it's hard to be choosy. And we've held out and tried to do that. But.
Those are very good points, I think. And I think too, you know, which we didn't discuss, but when there's a glut of perfusionists, the biggest problem an employer a good employer is going to have is that the ones that are still unemployed, there's a reason. And so you're like, okay, this person really is looking for a job, but why, given the current climate? How could that be that they're unemployed or needing a job? So that's a problem. But when it's like it is now, and again, it may be getting better, but it's still tight. The people that you're getting, you get an equal number almost of people applying, but they're chasing money. All they're trying to do is see if they can get more money from their last job, and they have no problem going job to job to job to job to job to accomplish that goal. I don't think that's good for them professionally. It looks bad. But it is the climate. So either way, it becomes an issue. But you're absolutely right. I agree with you 1,000% in that you do, when we hire somebody, you're representing us. This is who you are representing. Everything one of our team members does in an operating room, in an ICU, in an emergency department, doesn't matter where it is a direct reflection. And I'll tell you this, you talked about the team approach, about having teammates that you can work with, that you can depend on. I remember that. We had an incident where somebody was having a problem at a hospital, and they put out a group text and said, hey, I've got a problem. I think I have to change my oxygenator. There were so many people from the company that showed up at one time to help. They had to limit the number of people that went into the room to actually help.
Yep.
That's what you call teamwork. That's what you call caring about each other, and that speaks volumes to the quality of the people that we have here, and other people have that same thing. But that's what you should look for if you're looking for a job. That's what you should look for out of the people that you're hiring. And that's what hospitals who may watch this at some point in time in the future, or other employers watch in the future, of how you really attract talent, good people, and keep them. You got to value them. You have to respect them. You have to treat them like professionals. Your surgeons have to value them as integral parts of the procedure. Your anesthesiologists, your nurses, all of us are there, or should be there, for one thing, and that is the highest quality of care, safe care for the patient that results in a positive outcome, or as positive an outcome as that patient could possibly have. That's, at the end of the day, what it's all about, and why we all do what we do. So, with all of that said, I want to thank everyone for participating in PerfWeb 31. Let me see if we have any more. I'm just going to check the polling one more time, see if anybody else answered. Nope, still the same, 25, 75%. I want to thank everyone for joining us for PerfWeb 31. If you did all four, I think, did they get 4 different certificates, or did they get as one certificate for all 4?
No, they have 4 different.
4 different certificates. Okay, so make sure you do the little survey at the end of each one of the days, and you click on the, after the survey, your certificate is automatically printed and put into your folder, or you can print it out, whatever you prefer. So just sign into your account on perfusioneducation.com. Should be very simple. You have any issues or anything like that, again, you're feel free to email us at contact@perfusioneducation.com, and we'll try to answer your question as quickly as we possibly can. It's coming up to the end of the year. Happy Merry Christmas again, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, Happy Merry Christmas, or Happy New Year, and whatever. Festivus, don't forget Festivus.
Don't forget Festivus.
Thank you, Festivus. If you have a metal pole,
yes.
I have one in the back. We'll
Yeah.
pull it out.
Yeah.
You don't decorate it at all.
No,
it's
oh
the
gosh,
pole.
no, it's just a pole. And we'll have the feats of strength a little bit later.
The feats of strength?
The feats of strength.
The feats of strength. Okay, I'm not sure what that is, but we're going to find out.
Gonna have to Google a lot of things.
I don't remember what the feats of strength are. Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember. Yeah, okay, now I do remember. If you haven't watched Seinfeld, you got to watch Seinfeld. Look up Festivus, okay? But it was actually a pretty good show.
Yes.
That's George's father, right?
That's George's father.
Mr. Costanza.
Yes.
Yes, exactly. We're going to be putting out the schedule for January. I'll do that before the end of this year. So give me a little bit of time, maybe a couple of weeks. We're going to try to come up with some new, interesting, innovative, out-of-the-box thinking topics. Please feel free to go to perfusioneducation.com and add your testimonial, but also send in your suggestions on topics you would like to hear about. And let's see, what else can I think of to say that would be important? Oh, the Nurse CE is going to be coming up, hopefully, and you're going to be seeing our new app, which is going to be released, I think, sometime in January, Magic. We're going to be going to beta testing here very soon, and it is going to be by far the most comprehensive and necessary app for any perfusionist, ECMO specialist, critical care nurse, intensivist, or our nurse practitioner who works in the acute care environment. So be looking for that to be coming out sometime in January. And with that said, thank you all again for a fantastic year. We did, how many programs did we actually do this year? We didn't do 31 this year, but how many did we do this year? It's probably going to be about 26.
Really?
I'm pretty sure.
Wow, that's a lot.
Can we play the Jeopardy song?
Yeah.
Da 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 da.
Actually, I have that.
22. So we did, I was pretty close. So we've done 22 this year. So far, a total of 31 PerfWebs, and some of them were multi-day. Let us know what you think and look for our schedule next year. And please use us as your resource. Please like us and follow us and subscribe and do all those things I've said every single show since we started this program. And I want to thank all of you for the support you've given all of us and this program. And we hope to see all of you again next year. With that said, adios.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays.
Mixed cannulae, expanding performance standards. High performance cannulae for direct and femoral cannulation in minimally invasive cardiac surgery. LivaNova's complete range of mixed dedicated products allow easy and reproducible procedures. The portfolio includes the sutureless aortic valve Perfusion, Memo 4D for mitral valve repair, the HeartLink system for assisting the perfusionist in applying goal-directed perfusion therapy, and a broad choice of high-performance dedicated cannulae. LivaNova's range of cannulae suit every cannulation technique for minimally invasive cardiac surgery. Venous and arterial femoral cannulation can be performed using the WRAP Venous Cannula and the EasyFlow Duo. For arterial direct and venous femoral cannulation, the EasyFlow aortic cannula and the WRAP are available. For venous femoral access, the LivaNova WRAP cannula features a dual-stage configuration for optimal drainage of the inferior and superior vena cava without interfering with the right atrium. The high-flow dynamics of WRAP improves the capability of drainage with a low pressure drop. An optional Sellinger dilator kit is available to perform percutaneous insertion. The LivaNova EasyFlow Duo cannula is designed for a safe and smooth femoral arterial cannulation. Its conical dispersion tip design allows a more gentle flow in the femoral artery, and its red cap avoids blood backflow during obturator removal. A dilator kit for percutaneous insertion is also included with the cannula. EasyFlow cannulae are designed for safe, reproducible, direct aortic cannulation and include a malleable stylet to aid cannulation insertion, facilitating bloodless introduction into the aortic arch, as well as a special conical dispersion tip for a more gentle flow in the vessel to reduce shear stress.
The point of care program at Huntsville Hospital is approaching its 20-year anniversary. As we began to grow as a hospital and provide more complex services to our community, the need for point of care testing became very clear in our organization. Many of our departments consider the EPOT device to be crucial to their ability to quickly move their patients from entry to the hospital to procedural room. It helps them monitor the patient's status during their procedures and post-procedure, so it's very integrated into our entire continuum of patient care. If you have any patient population where blood management is crucial, then a point of care device is very useful in those types of settings. It can provide a quick result on a very small amount of blood, and that is really important in some of our patient population.
We are starting a new process where we're going to screen our patients on the floor for sepsis. The patient can look and actually feel okay. They will show us signs and symptoms of sepsis. So what we do when they show these signs, we get a lactate level.
Lactic acid is a product of the sepsis cascade. So with sepsis, the inflammatory light switch goes on, the cascade starts churning, and unfortunately, once it starts going, we have to stop it. It will not stop on its own. The faster the lab draw, the faster the lab results, the faster you can act on it.
The process in the lab is what the process is. It just takes a certain amount of time for the instruments to run those tests.
I mean, we're talking 30 minutes even on a stat because that's the process. That's just how long it takes. There's not really anything you can do about that. For every hour you wait to give an antibiotic, the mortality for that patient increases 8%. So now that we have the handheld device, the nurse can get those results within a few minutes, and we know how to treat that patient. If a patient is going into septic shock, we do not have minutes to spare. We have got to get it done quickly. So when you get the little beep from the epoch that says your results are in, you go with it. You don't even think twice about it. You're like, this is good. This is what I'm going to do for this patient. The next steps are clear.
I think our mortality on the initial floors dropped by almost 50% in the first 3 to 6 months. At this point, we're about hospital-wide. I think we'll be hospital-wide another 2 to 4 months. So this has become a huge program within our system.
Without the epoch device, it would really be hard for us to get everything done in the timely manner. So it's really helped us to get our program going.
I mean, whether you're a surgeon, whether you're a medicine doctor, whether you're a dermatologist, you want to be able to do things in a timely fashion so that you can be most effective.
This really makes a difference in patient outcomes.
Like all perfusion professionals today, we are busy and frequently short-staffed. Does taking time off for a conference create a burden for your teammates? Has reimbursement for your continuing education dropped? Have you priced the cost of going to a meeting lately? Registration fees, airfare, transportation and parking, hotel, and meals out? This totals up to having an out-of-pocket expense of over $2,500. And then you hope the content is good. Perfusion Education has heard your concerns. They have a simple and seamless system that works on any platform, computer, tablet, or even your phone. You can chat during the program or even phone in and be live on the air. The content, second to none. Perfusion Education is by Perfusionist and for Perfusionists. Create a free account and check us out today.